In the midst of a vast and harsh desert, a man was born who would one day change the course of history. An orphan, simple in appearance, yet radiating serenity and wisdom. He was Muhammad bin Abdullah, the last prophet. But more than just a bearer of revelation, Muhammad was a philosopher of life. Every step he took was full of meaning. Every decision came from the depths of his heart and mind. This is the story of the life philosophy of Prophet Muhammad, his way of thinking that has illuminated the world for more than 14 centuries. The philosophy of Tawhid, unity, balance, and justice. Tawhid is not merely the acknowledgement that God is one. In Muhammad's philosophy, Tawhid is the foundation of all moral and social structures. It means no human is above another, for all submit to the same God. When the Quraysh tribe boasted about their status, the Prophet said, "O people, you are all from Adam, and Adam was from dust." From this emerged the principle of egalitarianism, equality before God. There is no place for discrimination. Tawhid also teaches balance between the worldly and the hereafter, between rights and responsibilities, between the self and others. The philosophy of morality, perfection in conduct. The Prophet once said, "I was only sent to perfect noble character." This philosophy is simple, yet revolutionary. The Arab world at that time was filled with violence, vengeance, and oppression, but the Prophet approached with moral refinement. He did not respond to insults with anger, but with a smile. He did not repay violence with revenge, but with patience and empathy. In his view, morality was not just social etiquette, it was a mirror of faith. The philosophy of love and compassion. The Prophet was known for his gentleness toward family, friends, even enemies. He once stood to attend the funeral of a Jewish man. When his companions asked why he honored him, he simply replied, "Was he not a human being?" Love, in Muhammad's view, is the force that softens even the hardest of hearts. He loved children, animals, and even plants. He forbade burning ants. He wept upon seeing a starving camel. This was not ordinary tenderness, it was a worldview that all living beings deserve dignity. The philosophy of freedom and responsibility. Muhammad greatly valued freedom of thought and expression, but always paired it with moral responsibility. He never forced anyone to embrace Islam. Even in the Quran, it is clearly stated, "There is no compulsion in religion." Surah Al-Baqarah 256. For the Prophet, belief must be born of a liberated heart, but he also taught that freedom without ethics leads to ruin, while freedom with responsibility brings light. The philosophy of knowledge and critical thinking. In a society largely illiterate, Muhammad laid the foundation for a civilization of knowledge. The first revealed word was Iqra, or read. He taught that seeking knowledge is an obligation for every Muslim, male or female. He encouraged his companions to think, to question, to discuss. In his view, knowledge is light, and ignorance is darkness to be dispelled. He did not fear knowledge, even that which came from outside Islam. His philosophy paved the way for the Islamic golden age in science, philosophy, and art. The philosophy of peace and justice. Though he was a military leader, Muhammad was not a lover of war. He only fought when there was no other option. Even when he conquered Mecca, he sought no revenge. Instead, he declared, "Go, for today, you are all free." That was his philosophy of forgiveness and reconciliation. To him, true victory was not in defeating enemies, but in mastering the self and choosing peace. Justice was also a core principle. He once said, "If Fatima, my own daughter, were to steal, I would cut off her hand." This was not cruelty, but a symbol of impartial justice, where the law applies to all, regardless of status. The philosophy of leadership, a servant, not a ruler. Prophet Muhammad was a leader who served, not one who ruled from above. He mended his own sandals, swept his house, and slept on a rough mat. He said, "Your leader is your servant." To him, leadership was a trust, not a privilege. He led by example, not by command. In his philosophy, true strength comes from humility and commitment to noble values, not from power or position. The philosophy of simplicity and detachment. The Prophet could have lived in luxury if he wanted, but he chose simplicity. Often his household had nothing to eat but dates and water. He once said, "What have I to do with the world? I am but a traveler who rests under a tree, then move on." This philosophy teaches that the world is a path, not a destination. Wealth, power, fame, they are tools for goodness, not objects of worship. The philosophy of patience and optimism. In his life, the prophet lost his beloved wife and children, was betrayed by his own people, stoned and insulted, yet he never gave up. He said, "Be patient, for indeed, victory comes with patience." His idea of patience was not resignation, but steadfastness in doing what is right. He remained optimistic that goodness would prevail, even if it took years. The philosophy of death and eternal life. For the prophet, death was not the end, but a doorway to eternity. He lived not to build worldly monuments, but to leave behind the legacy of meaning. As death approached, he was not concerned with worldly matters, only his people. He whispered, "My Oma, my Oma." This philosophy reminds us that what endures is not the body, but the values, goodness, and love we leave behind. Prophet Muhammad was not just a messenger, but a light that illuminated minds and hearts. His philosophy transcends time, nation, and even religion. He taught that life is not about who we are, but about what we give. And in a world increasingly loud, hateful, and hollow, the footsteps of the prophet remain a moral compass, guiding, not forcing. May we strive to learn, understand, and live by his philosophy, with love, with manners, and with full awareness.